As you know, I'm a stickler for original language. And I don't like to go too far from the origin. The Zohar brings this down, but it's also found in the first two words, in the first three words of the Torah. Bereshit bara, that's what we're going to focus on, but then Elohim. As you know from previous videos, one never has to get out of the bet of Bereshis. Why? It's the number 2, and all bets are feminine, and all feminines are 2. It's the 2 Heys in Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's Rachel and Leah. It's the 2 twins of Hevel that caused so much trouble in Gan Eden. And so let's go from Bereshit bara. Let's do the gematria of that. Remember that Bereshit doesn't have to be meaning in the beginning. It could be with the beginning, with that bet. And this is important when you call Bereshit bara Elohim. Bereshit bara. Bereshit is 913 in gematria, as everybody knows. And then bara is 203. Bet, 2, resh, 200, aleph, 1. 203. So 913 and 203 is 1,116. That's an amazing number. It's an amazing number because the word Keter Malkus is also, the term Keter Malkus is also 1,116. Keter, 620, and Malkus, 496. Is 116, so there's a beginning and the end, so to speak. The Keter of Malkus is found in the first 2 words of the Torah. Whoa, that's enough right there to meditate for 5 years. Another very unique thing for this, and maybe why I'm bringing it up right now, is the name Shimon, which obviously relates to the Shema. And as you know, it was my brother's name, and doing a lot of these videos in his honor, and I'll do this one. Shimon, Shin, 300, Mem, 40, Ayin, 70, that's 410. Vav is 6, that's 416, and then a final Nun is 700. That gives 1,116. So the concept of Shimon, which to me relates to the ear and the Shema itself, is related in that name, Bereshit bara. We know this is true because if you take Bereshit bara, 1,116, and add 2 for the 2 words, Bereshit 1 and bara 1, that's 1,118, and that is the total gematria of the line of the Shema, the first line, which is the Shema, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The total gematria is 1,118. So this relates to Shimon, and this relates to Bereshit bara, and to Keter Malkus. And as you know, the Shema is one thing that you have to understand. Say it in any language, because you have to understand it. Just like you have to understand this. And what are we driving at here? So, Bereshit bara Elohim Very often one says, oh, in the beginning, God, Elohim, created. Well, that's a nice way to bring it up in English. But the way it's stipulated there, if one isn't a grammatarian, is Bereshit bara Elohim. With the beginning, created Elohim. In other words, Bereshit was there before the beginning. The beginning, Bereshit, created Elohim. It's not that Elohim, it's not that God created. It's created God. Elohim is a secondary aspect to the creation itself. I didn't make this up. It's found in the Zohar. And this is the way you should be approaching the Hebrew text, especially the essences of the Hebrew text, the first line of the Genesis. Whoa. And so, just gave a couple of things here to focus on. Also to look at the word Bereshis as created six. Sheet in Aramaic, Shin Yud Tov is six. It also relates to the word Shet, Shin Tov. And this is again related to a lot of other things here. But the concept of the six, the six in the creation, because the creation was sixth and the seventh was not created. The Shabbos was previous to creation. And so in a certain sense, it's the Shabbos that created the Elohim. It's the Shabbos that created the sixth. Something before. And that bet is found within the letters Shin Tov, which is Shet. And I haven't done this, but one of the purposes of creation was to bring out Shet. And the apparent death of Hevel, not the apparent, but the death of Hevel, which is theoretically caused by Cain, is a permitted death by Hevel himself as a sacrifice to bring on Shet, to bring on the foundation, to bring on the 700, which is also found in Shimon itself as the final Nun, the 700. And the Atbash of Shet himself is Bo, with its sexual connotations. Bet Aleph. And these different levels are up to you to look at and see what your level is today as you approach what I just said. What I just said is a jumping off point for your individual level. And when your individual level changes, tomorrow you can see it differently, what I just said. There's another gematria that I use for this. It's Ben Hashemashot. Ben Hashemashot is 60 for Ben, and Hashemashot is 1051. And together it's 1013 plus 2 words, Ben, and Hashemashot, plus 1 for all, that's 1116. So the 1116, Ben Hashemashot, relates also into Bereshit bara. It relates also into Shimon. It therefore relates also into the Shema and to Keter Malkus. Everything is a two-ness, and the important thing in between. And that's why Ben Hashomashot has so much meaning in it. And how you have to analyze things like that. And how there's a pregnant center. And everything comes from this center out. From the center out in a spiraling, circling manner. And on top of that, a square manner. These are very deep, deep principles. How one can perceive universe. Bereshit bara Elokim. Elokim, this feminine principle of the Shekinah itself, only comes later. Always remember that Elokim is, with the final mem, 646. It's 86 in regular gematria, but with this final mem, it's 646, which is the same as the word Mishkan spelled out in full, expanded. So the Mishkan is Elokim. So in the beginning, God created the Mishkan. This is in the process of his thought. How does this Mishkan, as a Sheken, as a presence, the feminine presence, relate to the original thought? And that's the need for the bet. There's two levels in the bet of two feminines. The feminine is always two, it's always double, it's always its reflection. And there's no masculine reflection, so he needs a feminine that reflects. So there's three aspects in the final analysis. There's a masculine and two feminines. And that's the way it was in the triplets that were in Hevel.